Hello and good evening, and welcome to my presentation on the 2016 Scottish results for the Scottish election that was held in 2016. And the basis for me doing this is to address a lot of the conversation that's taking place at the moment on a lot of message boards on Facebook in regards to the Vote 1 and Vote 2 voting systems, and how the Vote 2 could be possibly manipulated or used in a strategical sense to gain more seats for a political party, but in essence this is being primarily focused on the SNP to gain more seats for the 2021 election. So what I've basically got here is I've put together a spreadsheet which has all the details of the Vote 2 allocation of seats. I'll take you through each section by section to explain it, what each of these sections are, and I'll also explain how the seats were allocated per each of the rounds, and I'll also try and cover and explain the D'Hondt method. I won't explain every region, I'll pick out one region and explain how the D'Hondt method allocated the seats for that particular region. So as I said, this is all based on the 2016 election results. Just a little bit of a background that behind this spreadsheet there is a code set. It's an actual program written in Visual Basic. I can't claim full ownership for this code. It's been plagiarized from different aspects and different sources, but I have put it together and I've tweaked it to accommodate as I say, the 2016 Scottish results to what I need, and I've debugged it and I've vetted it and it works perfectly. So that's what's behind this spreadsheet. To explain each section by section, so in the top section here on the top left is the actual number of votes that were cast on the Vote 2 selection on the ballot papers. As you can see, we've got the SNP, we've got Tory, Labour, Green, Lib Dems, UKIP, and I've just grouped all together all the other parties rather than in catering for everyone, because there must have been about 11 or 12 parties altogether. But not one of them was actually big enough to challenge or even thought to have been considered for a listening seat anyway, such as their numbers were quite low. So that's that first section there. The second section here is your details of your constituency seats. Constitution. These are the details of your constituency seats, and these are the seats that were used on your Vote 1 ballot paper. Now, these are fixed on your Vote 1 results. They cannot be changed by no matter how many Vote 2 results you accumulate. A party could accumulate 1 million Vote 2 results, but they would not implicate what the Vote 1 results are. They're mutually exclusive, if that makes sense. So the Vote 2 has no impact on the Vote 1 results. This section down here is a vote split for Vote 2. As I can see, they're quite high in terms of percentage for SNP. As you get further down, you can see, for instance, there were a couple of instances where the Conservatives or the Tories were quite high in South East Scotland, and they did quite well in Highlands and Islands. But overall, that's the percentages, and as you can see, the SNP actually very well topped the league in terms of the percentages across the board for all 8 regions. To get the spreadsheet to generate what we need it to generate, there are 8 regions. There's 7 seats being allocated to each region. These are just variables I've set in there to execute the spreadsheet to generate the results. The regional Vote 2 results on 2016 are as follows. SNP won 4, the Tories won 24, Labour won 21, Green 6, Lib Dems 1 and 0. So even though there were 56 seats to win, the SNP only won 4 seats out of 56, with a massive lead in terms of votes that were actually put down for the SNP in the vote 2 part of the ballot paper. So how is that? What makes that happen? Well, it's all because of d'Hondt. The d'Hondt method is what the Scottish Government uses to address what they're trying to do is address balance in terms of representatives of parties within the Parliament. So they allocate an extra, apart from the 73 seats that are in the Parliament, they allocate an extra 56, and they use the d'Hondt method based on your region vote to allocate seats. Now, how does that work? Well, they use what's called the d'Hondt method, and the d'Hondt method is primarily where your vote 1 count does have an impact, because before they start allocating seats on the regional list, what they do is they readdress your vote count by how many seats you've actually won in the constituency. So for example, taking the SNP, we won 9 seats in Central Scotland. Their total votes were 129,000 for vote 2. So what they do is, and this happens with everybody, it's not just the SNP, it's every party gets this adjustment, is they take their constituency number, which is 9, they add 1 onto it, which in this case would be 10, and that is a divisor which is applied to the total number of votes. So you take 129,082 and you divide by 10. That becomes a starting point for the SNP. So if you look at Central Scotland for round 1, at the very top here, 12,908 votes. 0.2, I've got it in a decimal place which is not actually needed, but at 12,908 votes is the SNP starting position. For all the other parties, they're all untouched because they didn't win any seats. So you take the Tories, 43,600, they've got no seats, but you add 1 to it, so you divide by 1, 43,600 over 1 becomes 43,600. And that's the same for the rest of the parties. All their party votes totals were what they gained on the vote 2 ballot paper divided by 1. That is all their starting positions. So for round 1, how was the first seat allocated? SNP 12,908, Tories 43,600, Labour 67,103, Greens 12,000, Lib Dems 5,000, and UKIP 6. The winning party was Labour. They got the seat, the first seat allocated. Now, how does that affect Labour? Well, that has an effect on Labour because now that they've won a seat, they've now got 1 seat. You add 1 onto it, and that gives them 2. You divide their 67 by 2, which gives you 33,551. That's their starting position for round 2. So given the start of round 2, SNP again, they didn't move, 12,908. The Tories were 43,600. Labour 33,500 and odds. Greens again, they've kept their same value. So the winning party for round 2 was the Tories. The Tories got allocated a seat in round 2, and again the Tories get their divisor changed. They originally had no seats, so they now got 1. You add 1 onto it, which gives you 2, so then their totals are 43,000 divided by 2, and that's applied for round 3. So the Tories have moved down to 21,800, and now we start round 3, and the same goes again. SNP haven't moved. Tories are now 21,800, Labour are 33,005. These other 3 parties haven't moved, they're all lower anyway. So Labour have won round 3. And as you can see from here, it just basically switched from Tory and Labour. Because even though the divisors were being increased and affecting the totals, at no point did either the SNP or any of the other 3 parties get a chance of being the leading number of votes in any of the 7 rounds. It was all matched by Tory and Labour. That is how the d'Hondt system works, and that's how it will work for all the other regions. In Glasgow, Highlands and Islands, South East Scotland, all other regions, they applied the same scenario. And it worked to a certain extent in the SNP's favour, especially for the south of Scotland. Because in the south of Scotland, they actually gained 3 seats using the D'Hondt method. And it's surprisingly, in the south of Scotland, it was where they performed kind of what their second worst performance in terms of the number of votes they got. Only got 38%, but they won 3 seats, and they actually won more seats than what the Tories won in the list vote. And it's very easy to see why. If you have a look at the south of Scotland, quickly in the D'Hondt system, again, it's all, sorry, I'm just jumping about here, it's all based on the maths I said before. So looking at the Tory, the SNP, they won 4 seats in the south of Scotland. So the total of 120,000 votes would have been divided by 5 because they've got 4 plus 1 is 5. So 5 into 120,000 would come out at, where is it? South of Scotland, 24,000. So that was your starting position. And that would have been applied for all the other parties in the south of Scotland. All right, so starting at round 1, SNP 24, Tories 20, Labour 28. The other 3 parties not within a shout, so Labour got the first seat. Adjusted, round 2, 24, 2018. SNP won the second round, that was readjusted. 20,036, 21.5. Tories won round 3, readjusted. SNP won round 4, readjusted. Labour won round 5, readjusted. Tories won round 6, readjusted, and SNP won round 7. That's how the D'Hondt method was applied for the south of Scotland. Basically, we got in with a shout because our divisor wasn't as big, and our divisor wasn't as big because we only won 4 seats. And the Tories won 4, so they had a larger divisor as well. So that's why they were brought down. So basically, that's how the D'Hondt system worked and worked to allocate these seats. Now, there's a bit of a discussion going around about how can this then, what would have happened, say in 2016, if 50%, say, let's say 50% of the SNP voters at this point, of the 50% of the number of votes that were voted for vote 2, what if 50% of these voters had voted for Greens? Okay, well, let me show you what could have happened. I've quickly got the percentages that I can knock over. These percentages that I'm pasting on here represent the percentages of 50% of the voters from the SNP had voted Green for the vote 2 in the ballot paper. Okay, what could have happened there then? Well, I'll do our calculating. Let's have a look. Well, there isn't a big difference in terms of the SNP, as you can see. Now, the reason that is because in my calculations, I haven't made any adjustments. I said I'd taken 50% off. I haven't done that for the Highlands and Islands and for the south of Scotland. I've left them clear because the SNP had 1 seats anyway. But in terms of seats, the Greens have now racked their seats up to 21. The majority for SNP has stayed the same because they won the same number of seats, 63, so that's not changed. The Indie majority has gone up because, as I can see, if you look at an Indie majority, the Indie majority is what I deem to be the SNP plus the Greens, 84. So you take 84 seats for Indie and you subtract that from the rest, and it's roughly around, what is it, 22, 45, so it's roughly around 40 seats, 41 seats. So 41 seat of an Indie majority. That's a big difference from, if I just use a black arrow here, oh, I can't do that, 40 seats, yes. So that's what would have happened, a massive increase for the Greens. And that's because they didn't win anything. They had quite a high number of votes. They have quite a high number of votes. They're getting quite a high number of votes now. They haven't won any seats because they wouldn't win anything on the constituency vote, but they're getting a huge number of votes on the vote 2. It's given them a great starting position because they have no divisors. So they've got no divisors. You just have to look at the numbers, see it, and they're winning seats galore. 3 in Central Scotland, they won 4 in Glasgow, they won 1 in Highlands Islands, another 4 in Lothian, 3 there, 3 there, and 3 there. Done exceptionally well. So that's how that would have worked if that, and I'm saying it's in hindsight, if that's what would have worked at 50%. And this is why there's now, it seems to be that a lot of parties are now sprouting everywhere to say, well, why should the Greens get the votes? Why don't we vote for it? Why don't we bring in another independence party that could be used to apply our vote to? So we've got an independence party who are kind of affiliated to the SNP, got the same interests, and not the same as the Greens. Some people don't want to vote for the Greens because of some issues with their party. So, and that's why I believe that so many parties are now sprouting to try and encapsulate. Because let's face it, if another party comes on board and gets 21 seats in the House, that's quite a strong party, and you can see that why it might happen. Now, this is all based on the Glasgow polling at that time, which was around 40 odd percent, or 47, no, between 40 and 50% in that result. Now, and I'll put these figures back just to show you. So we'll put these back. No. Just bear with me, technical glitch. Okay, there we go. We'll do another recalculate, so that's what we were before. Yeah, the Greens were actually at 6. The fact that they've taken gone up to 21 seats is taken a lot of seats off the Tories and Labour at that point. So that's a good thing about that result as well. But yeah, as I was saying, the average voting was round about from 36% to 47. So at the moment for 2021, the results or the current polling seems to suggest there's an increased support for the SNP, ranging from some places 55 to even 62%. So I have now come up with a simulation of, well, what if these figures were applied to the 2016 result in terms of the current polling was the same poll in 2016, and rather than voting for the Greens, we're just going to leave them with the SNP. So we're not going to split the vote. The vote's going to be SNP 1, SNP 2. Okay, so let's put these percentages over. The exact same percentage values here, but except I have now we've allocated a higher percentage of the vote count to the SNP, and I've docked the same percentage spread across the board between the other parties. All right, what does that give us? What does that do? Well, let's do a calculate. What might have happened if these were the polling stats back in 2016? Well, I think that's amazing. See, I don't know about you, but if you look at that, we now have the SNP on 85 seats. We have a huge House majority of 41. Labour are down to 18. Not Labour, Tories are down to 18. Labour are down to 15. Greens still got 6, 5 and 0. But that's a big thing here. Now, what I haven't taken into account is I haven't made any adjustments for these vote percentages on the constituency seats. Because it's pretty, I think I'm going to say it's pretty obvious, but it may be that because of such a high polling figure for the Tory, for the SNP on the constituency seats, that would actually regain some of these seats from Lib Dems in Highlands Islands. Maybe we gain 1 seat. So I'll put that up to 1, put the Lib Dems at 1. What about the Lothians? Would Labour hang on? Maybe not, maybe he would. So let's see, he does. We'll take 8 there, and we'll take the seat back from the Tories, and we'll take a seat back from the Lib Dems. Let's take that seat from the Lib Dems on the Midlothian, so we'll take that one back. Yeah, I fancy us taking, well, the North East. Yeah, given the current plight of the fisheries, let's take that back. South East Scotland, I fancy a couple of seats off of them down there. Never know. In fact, let's take the Labour seat as well. Feeling kind of generous. In the West of Scotland, there's 10 seats to be won. I can't see how we can take all 10, given these current percentages. Okay, let's do another calculate. Where does that put us? Again, 85, 41 seats. Has it made a big change? It's because we've increased some of the divisors in here, which means we've maybe lost a few list seats in the recalculation. But hey, 85 seats, majority 41. This is why I believe if there's any voting percentages at the moment in the polling showing any of these kind of figures across the board, and that's ranging from 53% up to 62%, then I believe that the only way to gain the maximum hit and a guaranteed majority for the SNP is to vote SNP 1 and SNP 2. Thank you for watching. Hope this was useful. Feel free to make comments or contact me on the Facebook pages that I have put this video on. Thank you for your time and bye bye.